At least, it's not as racist and sexist as the Michael Bay ones. Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage and there's yet again another Transformers movie coming out in a few days. Transformers Rise of the Beasts, directed by Stephen Caple Jr. After Michael Bay has thankfully quit directing these movies, yet still producing them, we got Travis Knight's Bumblebee 5 years ago, which might be the best in the franchise. This new one doesn't really continue anything from that, but time-wise we continue the trend of being set in the past. Bumblebee took place in the late 1980s, Rise of the Beasts is set in the 90s, which obviously brings a lot of nostalgia in form of music cues and references. Some of it is quite nice and not that forced, some other things are. But it's not just set in the 90s and having references, but I felt the movie as a whole feels very much like something that was made in the 90s. Of course with the effect work of today. Unfortunately though, I don't really mean that all that positively. I have seen all of the Transformers movies once, minus The Last Night. At that point I was finally out, after I have given these movies a chance each and every time, because the trailers just looked so epic and because Michael Bay is certainly able to bring something fun and epic to the table. Only that those Transformers movies weren't it. Honestly, for the most part they are pretty big dumpster fires. But I can't lie and say there isn't something larger than life and stylish about them as well. Even if it doesn't really amount to much. Rise of the Beasts on the other hand feels different, but not like Travis Knight's Bumblebee felt different. My overall impression was that the franchise has taken another turn, and that turn feels more like a very generic, unambitious 90s action-adventure paint-by-numbers movie. Obviously, no movie from the 90s would actually look like this, but this feels more like an ordinary children's cartoon show episode blown up to a runtime of 2 hours. Apparently, this still had a budget of $200 million, but it has a cheaper vibe to it. Somehow the effects look softer than in the older Transformers movies, and while the execution of Michael Bay's crazy filmmaking doesn't really work at all in those ones, there's certainly more energy and panache to his style. Stephen Caple Jr.'s direction just seems pragmatic. It serves the plot, and at least it's way less exuberant and exhausting than what Michael Bay did, and maybe it's fine that he's just delivering a solid action adventure for children, but there's also no real artistry or wit here whatsoever, and the plot, as you expect, is the most basic thing. And again, I can't lie, one reason why I kept watching these Transformers movies, with the exception of The Last Night, is that these simple stories, to put it nicely, stories about some ancient sci-fi device that let the Autobots and Decepticons fight for all eternity, that they are brought to life with this over-the-top pathos. Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime, these big speeches, the silliness of the villains. It certainly has the potential to speak to the little boy in me. So yeah, some of that is of course in Rise of the Beasts, but yet the presentation isn't as epic as before. There are big chunks where it feels like you are just watching an animated movie where nothing is real anymore. The last entries in the franchise were at least set in real locations oftentimes. Rise of the Beast starts out in New York City, but changes location in the second half. Of course, Peru is also a real place, but later on there are no real people anywhere besides our two leads, and in the finale we are in one of those CGI war hellholes where we can just witness CGI robots fight each other with no real impact on anything. It's mildly amusing, but that's about it. Overall, the presentation just looks a bit ugly, and at this point you kind of know that even most of the cars these Transformers transform into are probably also CGI and not real. As far as our real characters are concerned, Rise of the Beast stars Anthony Ramos, mostly known for In the Heights, as Noah Diaz. An ex-military, as the military aspect has always been pretty important for this franchise, who is down on his luck, but who also has a heart of gold and tries to be a good big brother to his little brother. And while this whole brother relationship is of course very generic, it nonetheless is able to deliver at least some emotional beats. Also because Anthony Ramos is a really fresh face and doing a decent job here with the material given to him. Unfortunately, when it comes to the comedic material, Rise of the Beasts falls completely flat most of the time. Again, there's so little energy to it, and the punchlines feel so forced and familiar. It's also one of those movies that has a lot of lines like, "You gotta be kidding me!" or "Now we're talking!" There are also a few moments where the movie should aim for a big payoff and then awkwardly transitions to the next scene without real impact. The second lead is played by Dominique Fishback. Her character has her own little struggle as well, and in terms of representation, there's at least something in here. Like her doing all the work at her workplace while her white superior is more or less a doofus exploiting her. I thought she was doing a fine job when interacting with other humans, but towards the end it felt like she was really kind of lost in all of this effect stuff. For the movie it is, with its simpler, more childlike narrative and approach, I also felt that both characters and actors are just slightly too old for this material. So, in German I'd say, Transformers Rise of the Beast ist ein mittelmäßiger Realcartoon, der zwar auf einige der eklatantesten Schwächen der Bay Filme verzichtet, dafür aber leider in anderen Bereichen schwach ist. Wer sich ein wirklich aufregendes, energiereiches und witziges Action Abenteuer erwartet, wird leider enttäuscht. I give Transformers Rise of the Beasts 5 out of 10. It's more like 5.3, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about Transformers Rise of the Beasts. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd, and also on Patreon, simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like, and make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.